Hold on, I need to do this. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a great Thursday afternoon. The trial has ended for the day, and so we're going to do the update. If you missed last night's update, I got to get this up. Here we go. Finally, that showed up. If you missed last night's update, I got on really late. It was about midnight my time, maybe a little bit before that. So if you missed yesterday's take, you can catch it on YouTube. If you come in late, can't stay for this whole thing. This is being saved on YouTube under the Sean Diddy Combs playlist. Now, as always, we have people from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram watching, TikTok. As always, my TikTok friends, please tap that screen, get it to 10,000. We are so close. So close. A lot happened today. It was Jane's last day on the stand. She is completely done, and we have more witnesses coming tomorrow. Federal government thinks that they can rest their case Wednesday or Friday, possibly of next week. That doesn't mean defense is ready to rest their case, but they are able to. That being said, all that being said, we got some fun stuff to talk about. I had some fun with AI images today. So just so y'all know, I use like AI to create thumbnails and stuff, and I'm becoming more creative on what it can do. And some of the things we're going to talk about, I've used some fun stuff. So if you're on TikTok, you might want to jump over to YouTube and take a look at this, but if not, it's fine. But I'll just kind of start, get what's getting into this. Okay. So today was the 6th day of testimony from Jane. All right. Ex-girlfriend. In the indictment, she is victim 2. She is an influencer. She dated him from 2021 to his arrest in 2024. She began her testimony on June 5th. It is now June 12th. And after several days of emotionally charged statements, intense cross-examined by the defense, it is done. Redirect is done. This is a critical phase in the trial, as she is considered the last major victim witness in the government's case. And proceedings, though, did not start off as planned. Instead of opening arguments at the usual time, which is shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern time, testimony was delayed. Jane, the victim, the witness herself, along with her attorney and both legal teams, were called into a private meeting with Judge Subramanian, a closed-door session that began around 9:30 and was still ongoing kind of well into the morning. The judge did not disclose what was discussed behind closed doors. And it remains unclear if that delay. Oh, sorry. Actually, this is old news, so I don't need that. It wasn't at that point. It was not clear if that delay would affect the timeline of Jane's testimony, which was supposed to wrap up around lunchtime, and it did end up going a little bit further. Just so you're aware. Once back in court, Jane was going to recount one of the most harrowing alleged incidents in the relationship, which is a night from June of 24, where she says Diddy violently broke through multiple doors inside her LA home. A story that we've talked about multiple times, which culminated in coerced encounters involving a male escort. The prosecution has framed this moment as a final escalation in a years-long pattern of coercive control, physical abuse, and exploitation. This day being the final day of Jane's testimony, it's likely going to carry a weight not just for the jury, but for the public watching this trial very closely. All of you guys, me as well. As Jane's become a central figure in the prosecution's narrative, and the outcome of her cross could determine how credible and compelling the jury found her and finds this broader case against Combe. Now, this is the picture I'm most proud of, guys. I'm going to take a moment. This is what I had to make. I love this. I love what AI can do. Obviously not real. But here's why I have this photo. If you're on TikTok, you can't see it. You have to jump over. And it might be worth you doing that. I love this photo. Insta, you'll have this later. I'm going to do like a write-up on this next section. So on Insta, you'll be able to see this later. Anyways, let's talk about courtroom strategy, because not the legal kind, by the way. I mean, it's legal to do this, but it's not like a legal strategy. Well, it kind of is. Anyways, you'll get what I mean. What Diddy's doing right now, which is why I use this photo, it's not just about motions and cross-examinations. It's about optics. About trying to influence the jury without saying a word. And yes, there is an actual real name for this. It's called the nerd defense. It's called the nerd defense. It's a real term. I'm not like being mean. I'm not like, trying to call people names. It's a real term. All right. that's used in criminal defense circles. The idea is very simple. You soften the image, dress the defendant in sweaters instead of suits, glasses instead of sunglasses, books instead of bravado, if you will, to transform a man accused of brutal crimes into someone who looks quiet, passive, and even perhaps intellectual. In Diddy's case, perhaps enlightened. And y'all, he is playing it to the hilt. This week in court, Sean Combs has been showing up in soft pastel sweaters, slouching in his seat, shrinking his posture, not the flashy, controlling figure that we've heard described in witness testimony, but someone who looks harmless, possibly even fragile. But today came a more surreal moment when he held up a book. All right? I'm going to show you this book. Sorry, that's not the one. That's coming for later. Give me a second. That's the wrong image. This is the book that he brought up. It's called The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. This book is from 1948. It is a self-help manual originally written to help World War II vets recover from trauma. It promises to, quote, unlock the, quote, unlimited power of the subconscious mind through belief, visualization, and what Bristol likes to call the miracle of thought. And Diddy didn't just kind of quietly read it or look like he was reading it. He lifted the book up and turned the cover toward the courtroom gallery as if he wanted to make sure that we all saw it, or they all saw it, not me because I wasn't there, as if he were sending a message not to the decision of the jury, but to the public because he knew it would be written about as well. So what's the message here? That he's a spiritual man, misunderstood genius, someone manifesting his innocence from within? Because make no mistake, this isn't random. Earlier this week, he was photographed with a Quran. The next day, a Bible, always positioned on the table, facing outward, but never actually being read. Y'all, this is calculated. This is a performance. But here's the question that we all need to be asking. First of all, should props like this be allowed to shape how a jury sees a man behind them? Because books don't testify, sweaters don't speak, and religious symbols won't save you from evidence. And even if half of what these witnesses are saying is true, no amount of pastel or paperback is going to wash that away. Now, for those of y'all watching it and later comment, later on this, on the recap, replay, whatever, drop your thoughts about this in the comments. And even here, do y'all really think that jurors are falling for this kind of image rehab, or are they seeing it for what it really is? Okay. Now, I want to switch gears, and now we're going to go back to this photo, which, again, I think y'all are going to love this photo. Again, I'm having a lot of fun with AI today. I love AI photos. I never try to pass AI photos off as real, though, guys, just so y'all are aware. But I want to switch back gears, and we're going to talk about something that is on the complete opposite spectrum of him trying to be this, like doing this nerd defense, okay? And we're going to talk about something that Jane testified earlier, or testimony from earlier, right? Because now we have a little bit more clarification on, and I cannot with y'all. I have to show y'all what this is and talk to y'all about it, even though this particular situation has nothing to do, this is gossip. I'm just going to tell you right now, it is gossip. It has nothing to do with his court case. And I'm going to kind of put a pin in that and come back to this. But let me just kind of explain. So I'm talking about going back to where Jane basically said that Diddy is a cuck. And like I said, now we have more context. And well, let's just talk about it. So this image here, why did I make this image with AI? Well, apparently Diddy's wildest fantasy involved a twisted NBA player where Diddy cast himself as Michael Jordan, his ex-girlfriend role-playing as Kobe Bryant, and the male escort that she regularly was with was Shaquille O'Neal. Now, the whole time I'm reading this and I'm hearing about this role play that he's doing, where they're all three NBA legends, males, right, including the woman in this group. For those of you who are old enough to have watched Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie, and you think about the guy with the Wayans brother, I can't remember which Wayans was in it, but the Wayans brother who kept trying to make his girlfriend wear like the helmet and pretend to be like the football player. That's all I'm thinking of when I'm with this whole thing, right? So yeah, anyways, so he's fantasizing, he's Michael Jordan, and him as Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaq are doing this thing. Okay. So Jane talked a little bit more about this, saying that his obsession with cuckold scenarios might have been a way for him to explore his bisexual fantasies without directly engaging with men, because he was too ashamed to do so openly. She described elaborate parties at the free cost filled with over-the-top role play where guests used nicknames inspired by legendary basketball players. She testified that in 2022, while trying to make sense of her relationship with Combs, she started researching and Googling the word cuckold, which is, for those of you who don't know, that is defined as a man who becomes aroused by watching his partner with other men. She said, quote, I came upon the word cuckolder, a man in a relationship with a woman who is turned on watching his woman have relations with other men. According to Jane, the word perfectly described what she and Diddy did in the bedroom, because I was trying to deep dive into the reasons why they derived so much pleasure from watching their woman with other men. It gave me more understanding of what my partner wanted of something that he wasn't vocal about. She testified that there are multiple reasons someone might find that kind of scenario pleasurable. One of them is the pleasure of seeing their woman enjoy another man. Another is a bi-curiosity. They're too ashamed to experience themselves. They use the woman to explore it vicariously. She said, I would use the word cuck for him. All right. So that's what we have there. Okay. Now, there's a lot of talk about a mysterious rapper. Okay. Earlier, they tried to get the name of this famous rapper where they could talk about it, but the judge allowed it to remain sealed. So we're going to just call him the mysterious rapper or things of that. You'll get it. You'll get it. So on Monday, going back to Monday, she described a wild party she attended in Las Vegas in January 24. The party was hosted by a rapper who was unnamed in court. In honor of his girlfriend's birthday, Jane said she flew on the rapper's private jet to Vegas, where a large group first attended a play, followed by dinner, a strip club, and eventually the hotel after party. It was in the hotel suite that she testified she saw Antoine, the male escort that her and Diddy often hired for these freak-offs or hotel nights, sleeping with another woman while everybody watched. The group allegedly included this famous rapper, his girlfriend, and about 2 other people. Jane said she didn't physically engage with anyone at the party and had only gone with a platonic male friend. But she testified that Combs was still enraged when he found out, becoming jealous and possessive despite his own behavior. He got really mad. Then, back today in court, Mark Agnifilo formally objected to the judge's ruling. By the way, that kept that, just to give you a little more context on this, so I'm going backwards a little bit, which kept his identity sealed. He argued that it was of the public's interest to name the individual, but Maureen Comey pushed back hard, accusing the defense of trying to use the revelation as a pretext to attempt to harass this witness and saying the court should not countenance it. And the judge sided with the government and declined to unmask the man. So that's kind of what happened. Still under further questioning, Tinny Garagos confirmed several eyebrow-raising facts. The unnamed rapper is, quote, an icon in the music industry, someone that has close personal and professional ties to Diddy himself. I mean, I think we're all thinking the same name. We don't know who it is, but we're all thinking the same thing. She testified that the rapper had a crush on her once, telling her outright, I've always had a crush on you, and that he always wanted to F me. She also admitted to flashing her breasts during the party. Jane added that the rapper and his girlfriend were involved in similar activities as Diddy, including recruiting and watching escorts at parties. During the same time, that same Vegas trip, Jane said the couple expressed interest in finding someone in that type of work lifestyle, escort lifestyle, asking if she had any recommendation. Jane mentioned Sly, another escort that she and Combs had used. And according to Jane, Antoine told her he was in an ongoing relationship with the mystery rapper and his girlfriend, and that he frequently traveled with them. So, Jane then reflected on a major shift in her relationship with Sean Combs. This came in the emotional fallout of Cassie's bombshell lawsuit, which was filed in November of 23. Defense brought the jury back to that time during cross, where Jane acknowledged that she and Combs were still in contact in December of 23, but said that things felt emotionally strained. She said, quote, we were both equally pulled in our own emotional battlefields, like every which way. She said that they had reached a breaking point. She said, I had hit a wall around the relationship, adding that there was a lot for me to wrap my head around. Jane said that during this time, Combs was also under fire for a lot of things. That period marked the beginning of a new tone between them. She testified that Combs eventually told her he hadn't realized how she was feeling. He said he was sorry. I felt that way, and that he didn't want me to feel like that anymore. And I just want to specify something real quick. When somebody says, I'm sorry you feel that way, that's not really an apology. Just so y'all know. You guys probably know that. But probably. Yes, not really. But Garagos asked him at the time, you believed him? And she said, yes, I did. Even though it's not really an apology. Following the conversation, Jane and Combs encouraged her to open up more. He wanted her to be more communicative. She interpreted that shift as a sign he was trying to be more emotionally available, but viewed it in the context of everything that followed, including what she says happened in June. That apology now hangs heavy in the air. Jane testified that after Cassie's civil lawsuit became public, she noticed a change in Combs. When they reconnected in February 24, she said they experienced some growth in their relationship. I felt I could assert myself a little bit more. So Combs became more loving and spent more quality time with her. She felt closer to him, and my love grew stronger. Then everything shifted again. In May of 2024, CNN released the surveillance footage of Combs attacking Cassie in a hotel hallway back in 2016, the infamous footage that we have all seen. Jane told the court that she had never seen Combs act that way before. It was a very difficult time for him. She testified that after the video aired, Combs went on a family trip and started posting his children more on social media. Garagos asked whether Combs had tried to enroll in a program to address his behavior. Jane said she recalled hearing that he did. Prosecutors objected when Garagos implied the program may have not accepted him. The judge called both sides to the sidebar, and that line of questioning was dropped. Jane confirmed that the months after the video surfaced were hard on Combs and, by extension, on their relationship. Then came the night that everything exploded. Talked about this. June 18th, 2024. Night that began with romance, but ended with fear and violence. She said she and Combs had already had 2 shots of tequila and at least 2 glasses of champagne when they started arguing about another woman, a woman who lived in Miami and had more access to Combs due to proximity. Jane confirmed this woman had come up in fights before. There was a lot of just resentment for so many things. It was just a ball of emotions that night. She admitted she called Combs a word that starts with the letter P and ends with the word file. Despite knowing that the other woman was not underage, she also called him disgusting and a monster. As the fight escalated, she retreated to her bedroom and locked the door. Garagos asked her to confirm that at that point, Combs had not laid a hand on her. Jane agreed and said that Combs was yelling repeatedly, asking, "Are you just not going to talk to me?" Then she said he kicked open the bedroom door. She locked herself in the master bathroom. Again, he broke through. I was yelling that I hated him, that I wanted him to leave me alone. He was yelling back that I was crazy, saying things like, "You're not going to talk to me." I couldn't breathe. And as Combs chased her, she said she ran into her closet to hide, stripped out of her dress, and put on something loose, anticipating that she might have to run. She didn't even have time to take off her high heels before Combs kicked in the closet door too. Jane said she ran downstairs toward the front door, but Combs caught her. He kicked me in the back of the leg, and I fell. He grabbed her from behind and then put her in a chokehold. Pulled me up to my tippy toes. I couldn't breathe. Garagos asked her to confirm whether she had previously told prosecutors she almost couldn't breathe. Like she couldn't breathe or could she almost not breathe? He then referenced video footage Jane had taken in the days following the incident and asked her to confirm that while she had facial injuries, the video showed no visible marks on her neck, and Jane agreed. She then eventually fled her house and hid outside for hours, 2 hours, I believe, before returning. But once she got back, Diddy was still there. She thought he had left, but he was still there after a couple hours, and the fight reignited. I was still very upset. She brought up the Miami woman again, and once more Combs called Combs a letter that starts with the letter P and ends with the word file. They moved on to the patio, and in the heat of the moment, Jane said she punched him in the head. He punched me twice, once in the eye and once on my forehead, and all of that was before lunch. And then it gets even more damning when they get back. Now, real quick, my mouth is very dry. I have a refrigerator right there. I'm going to go grab a drink and then we're going to continue this. Sorry about that. I'm usually prepared, but I don't know how much longer I can talk like this. So, let that sink real quick. Grab this. We're going to continue. I've done a lot of more videos today than I normally do, so. Areas, much better. So much better. I promise it's not product promotion. And real quick, before we get into what happened after lunch, if you are coming in just now, you're missing this. This is the recap of what happened today in the Diddy trial. It was Jane's last day of testimony. If you come in late, you want to hear this, you've missed any of it, This is on YouTube under the Sean Diddy Combs playlist. You can always go watch it there if you've missed any of these. We do them every day that there's a trial. There is one of these recaps. All right. So now, as cross-examination continued after lunch, defense zeroed in on the events of June 18th, 2024, where she claims that he violently attacked her at her rented home in Los Angeles. Jane repeated earlier testimony that Combs punched her in the face during that altercation. At some point afterwards, she gained access to his phone. Jane testified that she used it to call a woman she believed had recently gone on a family trip with Combs. The phone call had previously come up during Jane's Monday testimony. On Thursday, she provided more detail, and according to Jane, the woman on the other end of the call told her, "You're worried about the wrong things and that she shouldn't be panicking." The two women got into a heated exchange, trading insults over the phone. Then Jane told the woman, "He's beating my ass right now." At that point, Combs hung up the call. Jane testified that it appeared that the woman tried to call Combs back multiple times, but he didn't answer. After that, Combs initiated a FaceTime call with his assistant, Jonathan, and held the phone up so Jonathan could speak to Jane. According to Jane, the purpose of that FaceTime call was for Jonathan to tell her at Diddy's direction, to tell her that the other woman had not gone on the family trip after all. And later in the cross, defense confronted Jane with a separate incident that occurred months earlier, which is in January 2024. At that time, Jane had traveled to Las Vegas to attend a birthday celebration thrown by this well-known rapper for his girlfriend. The well-known rapper who we don't know who it is, but we kind of think, I am parched, Emma, thank you. The one that we've talked about before, the one that I think I think most of us think that it's between two people. And most of us probably think one in particular. But nevertheless, doesn't matter. Well, it says girlfriend. It says girlfriend, which means it's not Jay-Z. Just so you know. It's not Jay-Z if it's in 2024 and they're using the term girlfriend. So that's who I initially thought it would be. Just so you're saying that was who I wasn't going to say that because I don't want to spread more false information, but it's not. Anyways, and somebody said something about Kanye. Here's what I can tell you about this. I don't know if it is or not, but we know Kanye had a girlfriend in 2024, right? I think he wasn't married, right? And he's got accusations of doing things that are freak off to somebody else as well. So maybe. I don't know. Somebody tell me in the comments, it's not Yay anymore. It's now Yay. Just so y'all know, he changed his name to Yay. I shit you not. You missed that video. Anybody know if he was single back in January 2024? Let me know. If you guys have that in the comments, let me know. Anyways, doesn't matter. And it was for a birthday, and Bianca's birthday's in January. There we go. If Bianca's birthday's in January, they weren't married at that point. I think we have figured out who the mystery rapper is. And would it be surprising? And they were in Vegas at that time. There you go. We got it. It's Kanye. Gotta be. Okay, cool. We figured it out. The mystery rapper. We believe it's Kanye. I'm not gonna say it's 100% because I don't want to get sued, but we believe it's Kanye. So she confronted Jane with a separate incident that occurred months earlier in January 24. At that time, Jane had traveled to Vegas to attend the birthday celebration thrown by a well-known rapper for his girlfriend. Jane testified that the rapper was iconic, though she did not identify him by name. She told the jurors that at the after party, she witnessed the rapper and his girlfriend watching an escort have relations with another woman. According to Garagos, Diddy was furious that Jane attended the event. The attorney asked, and that's when he said, "I can't believe you went to another man's freak off, right?" Jane said, "Right." Jane had also previously testified that on that night, Diddy allegedly assaulted her and then coerced her into participating in a freak off hotel night. The two did not have their usual post-event intimate time afterwards, which is a detail that Combs reportedly found abnormal and upsetting. During the June 18th altercation, going back to that, Jane said this is kind of how it was going with this, by the way. It was kind of going back and forth a little bit today. Jane said the tension escalated after she stopped yelling. According to her testimony, Combs instructed her to put on a lingerie outfit. He then picked up her phone and used it to text a man named Antoine, an entertainer, an escort, to see if he could come over. While browsing Jane's earlier messages with Antoine, Combs discovered a previous text in which Antoine had referenced a mutual friend. Jane testified at the time she didn't think much of the comment, but Combs was disturbed by it. Despite the tension, Jane changed into sweatpants and drove to the gate to let Antoine into the community. Once inside, Jane said the three of them, herself, Combs, and Antoine, made small talk before heading toward the bedroom. Before anything happened, Combs pulled her aside into the guest bedroom. Jane testified that Combs demanded she explained what Antoine meant by mutual friend because he couldn't understand how she and Antoine would know the same person. Jane told Combs about the January 24 trip where she saw Antoine sleeping with a woman while the rapper and his girlfriend watched. And she said she hadn't told Combs about that detail before, nor had she shared the rapper's friend Sly's number that night. Combs reacted angrily. Jane testified that he told her, "How could you go to another man's freak off?" Then they moved to the bathroom where Combs got in her face and told her to take an X pill, an E pill, I guess, maybe E instead of X. When she told him she didn't want to sleep with Antoine, Combs pressed her, saying, "Is this coercion?" Eventually, they went into the bedroom. Jane testified that she performed oral on him. She added that she and Combs did not sleep with each other after the encounter, which, again, she confirmed was not typical. Despite the violence and humiliation she described on June 18th, she testified that she and Combs got back together shortly afterwards. In the days that followed, they both said they missed each other. Jane said she stayed at his home for a couple of days. Saying, quote, "It seemed like he was proposing the idea of breaking up, and I was just listening to him." She described it as prolonged conversation that lasted 8 or 9 hours. During that time, they took substances and slept together without any entertainers involved. She testified that she began to lean into the idea of a breakup once she realized Combs was spending time in Wyoming with another woman around July 4th, 2024. After that, she blocked him and his associates, but that month, she reached out again after seeing his mother was sick. The jury was shown a series of text messages from July of 24, many of which had already come up during direct examination. In them, Combs told Jane that they should just be friends with no beef. He said that he also said that she had disrespected him by going to his friend's freak off. I just can't with this guy. Like, these women don't want to do these freak offs. He forces them into it, and then he's like, "You disrespected me." Jane pushed back, writing that she had wasted 3 years of her life in hotel rooms. "Please stop acting like I didn't shelf myself to be just your only girl." She also said, "At least you understand that it wasn't cool to have me just doing hotel nights and everyone got private jets all over the world. I don't even have anything post-worthy from our relationship." Damn. They kept texting and calling throughout the month. In one particularly raw message, Jane wrote, "My dumbass thought if I effed more and did more hotels, I'd finally get a trip." Toward the end of meaning that she wanted romantic time. Toward the end of July, they made plans to meet in Miami. Jane confirmed they stayed at the Four Seasons. Jane then testified that the Miami trip started out positive. She said they generally had a good time, but one night she told Combs she was tired and wanted to go to sleep. Apparently that didn't go over well. She said he got agitated, splashed water on her, called her a bitch, then apologized. When defense asked why Jane hadn't mentioned that before, Jane said she brought it up to prosecutors as days before testifying on June 1st, calling it a new memory. I'm going to pause real quick on that. People don't all of a sudden come up and make up stuff, right? Sometimes when you're talking about things, when you've gone through trauma or abuse, you have a lot of blackout periods, right? Like you can remember certain events, but you won't remember like large chunks of time. And anybody who's gone through this, you know what I'm talking about. Like for me, and when I like my childhood growing up, there's like from the time I was 13 till 16, I don't remember almost anything. I don't remember almost anything. I remember certain big events that happened to me, things that my mom or stepdad did to me. Physical, emotional, whatever, having me committed. And I remember being in these places, but I don't remember anything that happened afterwards for years. Right. And I'll talk about things and every once in a while a new memory will come up. So I get what she's saying on that. It's like, yeah, somebody says your brain blanks it out Kaylee says your brain blanks it out to protect yourself. Yeah, it's like a self-preservation thing, right? So I'm just pointing that out for people who aren't aware of how that kind of works. Anyways, during that same trip, Jane told Combs that she missed Paul, one of the men who had joined them for hotel night. She had taken E at that time, but said that the feeling was genuine. She reached out to Paul and he agreed to meet them in Miami. Jane confirmed that a few days later, she slept with Paul at Combs's home after taking a different substance. And when Garagos asked if she felt in control and whether it was a great experience, she said yes. She also confirmed that she described that night to prosecutors as a love fest. The trip ended in another fight, this time about another woman, but communication between them continued. After the July 2024 Miami trip, which Jane had described as a mix of intimacy, substance use, and emotional volatility, she and Combs continued to talk regularly. According to her testimony, their post-trip communication included text messages where they discussed the idea of seeing a therapist. So that's very big for him. But it was also after the raids have happened. So, whatever. Anyways, she told the jury that in those texts, they acknowledged their deep connection, but also the repeated toxicity in their relationship. They discussed that they loved each other so much, she said, but all the toxic stuff was still continuing to come up. The defense then asked Jane about last time she saw Combs, roughly before his arrest. She confirmed that they met one final time in Miami in August of 2024, roughly 1 month before Combs was federally indicted and then taken into custody. When Garagos asked Jane to verify that she had previously described that visit as ending on a positive note, Jane offered a more muted version in front of the jury. She said it was okay. She still acknowledged that during her pretrial meeting with the defense, she had agreed the trip had ended on good terms. She said that it was okay. Then, after a 3-day-long cross-examination, Tinny Garagos officially wrapped up her questioning of Jane. At her testimony, now, Jane's getting towards the end of her testimony at this point, and it's time for prosecution to come back for redirect, which is the final stretch of where she's at. And again, remember, she's the last major victim testifying in the prosecution's case. Now, again, be real quick before we get to redirect, I just want to remind everybody who's been coming in, because I see the numbers kind of going on both. If you're coming in late, mid show, whatever, this is all saved on YouTube. You can go watch it there. The full recaps. It's under the Sean Diddy Combs playlist. So if you come in late for any of these or you miss one of them because I go live and you're not available, they're all there for you to go catch up on. Now, getting into redirect. By the way, thank you, TikTok, for getting us to almost 25,000 likes. I appreciate you guys tapping the screen. I know you guys, the finger must be tired. But I appreciate you. Anyway, so Comey then introduced messages from 2022, which is early in Jane and Sean's relationship. In one message, Jane had texted, "I know what you want, baby, but not really in the mood for that part. Don't want to make you mad." She told the jury that Combs had been hinting at wanting an intimate night, and she didn't want to upset him. That's usually the response I got from him when I told him, when I declined those things. Combs responded with, "All good," but then an hour later, he texted Paul, one of the escorts, with instructions, "I'm gonna need you to persuade her. You don't want to do it." She said no. And can I just go on for, I know that the vast majority of my followers are women, but for any males that are watching, any guys that are watching, most of you, if you follow me, you're probably not falling in this category, but just in case you need to hear this. When a woman says, "No, I don't want to do something," or anybody says, "No, I don't want to do something," especially with their body, no doesn't mean let me continue to try to persuade you and wear you down until you say yes. No is no. No is no. Boundaries. Take it for the first time. Just for those who need to hear this. And as a shameless plug, that's part of the reason why I wrote this for children, is to start learning how to set boundaries in a family. You can order it from the TikTok shop or justthenickofcrime.com. Shameless plug there. I only have copies of Boundaries available, not the other books at this moment in time. Nevertheless, let's go on. Shameless plug, guys. Shameless plug. I'm going to need you to persuade her. That's what he said. She said that at the time she was unaware of that message. Real quick question. Tammy, because you know I love you, Tammy. You're a longtime follower. It doesn't matter who we think Jane is. Jane's identity is meant to be concealed. I don't entertain guesses. I don't entertain anybody trying to figure out who she is. I know that people have. Not going to be on my channel. She wants to remain anonymous, and I want to respect that. She doesn't want to be there at the first time. So, because somebody said I should send that book to Diddy and Gio. Like, real talk, Andy, I did send it to Eric and Lyle Menendez. Like, no cap. I did send it to the Menendez brothers. For real. Comey then brought up a trip to Turks and Caicos in March of 2023. Jane had messaged Paul afterwards describing the emotional and physical exhaustion following their second hotel night. She wrote, "It had been 24 hours with no breaks for me. And at first I was going with the flow or the second link up, but I had warned him I just felt overwhelmed to overperform for a moment I had never done before. I'm just a robot, a mix of tired, hungry, sleepy, and sore. Like I can't imagine doing that for 24 hours, right? 24 straight hours nonstop. 24 straight hours nonstop. I just can. If any of you guys like, I'm not trying to get personal here, but if there's anybody watching, there's any women who have done that for like 24 straight hours, I'm just curious. Just let me know. Call it a morbid curiosity. I don't think there's anybody. Diddy and the stuff that he wanted, it's not human. It's not human to be able to do that for 24 straight hours. My God. Anyways, she added, speaking of what I said, Diddy did not make me feel, or Sean did not make me feel like a human being. We got a 6 hours. Somebody asked about the skin routine. I'm a little bit whatever today. You guys want to know a trick to help with y'all skin routine? Because people ask, like, what's my skin routine? I'm very shiny today, I feel. Skin routine. Here's a trick. My wife taught me this. She's got a prompt. Maybe she can send me the prompt again, or I can find it. I can put it like on TikTok or in Instagram or whatever, or even in some show notes on a different day, short, whatever. If you take a photo of your face and give Chat AI these prompts, these certain prompts, you can ask it to build you a skincare routine based on you specifically. Absolutely crazy. So I've done that, and now I'm going to take it and give it the products that I have and ask it what I need to. I'll let you guys know how this goes. Ask what I need to get rid of, what I need to add to it, and when I need to, like, what I need to do at night, what I need to do in the morning. So just so y'all are aware of that. Okay, real quick, y'all ask. Anyways, sorry. I'm getting off topic today because I don't know. I don't know why. Comey asked why she sent affectionate messages. The only thing I can do for 28 hours is bleed. Hours plenty. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, she asked why she sent affectionate messages to Combs afterwards. She explained there was a confusing cycle to him. There was a confusing cycle of him showering me with love and affection with all the exploitation between them. I was just able to compartmentalize all the bad stuff. All the loving messages are just me focusing on all the good parts of us. And I understand what she means by that. She admitted that she had. Okay, here's one for her. You guys want to feel really bad? Some of y'all like, I feel so bad for her. Here's one that's going to make you feel really bad for her. She admitted that she never orgasmed during any of these, instead saying I was just putting on a show. She had to go 12, 24, 36 hours. Never once got off. Not once. Do all of that. She also said that she would send positive message to the male entertainers afterwards, not because she meant it, but to spare them feeling used. I didn't want them to feel used. I mean, even though that's their job. She asked Jan if she could recall every hotel night, and she said no. Then Comey asked if she wanted to remember them, and she said, I wish I could forget them. When asked why she brought up other women during arguments with Combs, she began to cry. What I was trying to express every time I brought up women was why? Why do I have to be degraded in order to be with you? Why do I have to be degraded in order to be with you? That's heartbreaking. Why do I have to break all of my boundaries and compromise on myself, but they don't have to? But they can still experience it. They can still experience you in a way I want to. Why do I have to compromise myself when they don't have to? I want to read that whole thing because it's powerful. Why did she bring up other women? I want to read it again. I think it's so powerful. What I was trying to express was every time I brought up women was why. Why do I have to be degraded in order to be with you? Why do I have to break all my boundaries and compromise on myself, but they don't have to, but they still can experience you in a way that I want to? Why do I have to compromise myself when they don't have to? Huge. Huge. She reiterated that she participated in freak-offs despite only wanting to be with him, and that he pressured her repeatedly even after she said no. I was putting on a show for Sean. Comey then revisited a fight from 2023, August of 2023, after Jane backed out of hosting an all-star party with multiple entertainers. She had come up with the idea while high, but later changed her mind. Holmes did not take it well. He accused her of lying, cheating, and using him for money. Jane reminded the jury that she told Combs that she had to postpone because she had just gotten her period. even sending a photo as proof. In a long text message she wrote, I reread all of our texts. You have flaked and disappeared so many countless times on me. I have nonstop given you these nights for 2.5 years, and this is the first time I just hit a wall and was honest. I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheater, a user, or a sex robot. She testified that by October 23, she was pushing back harder on the hotel nights, and that Combs had been paying her rent for several months. She said that he regularly tied that rent support to sex and that he threatened to stop paying in all different types of ways. In text the day before the sobriety party, she told him, I don't feel like performing loveless, cold relations. I'm not an adult film star. I'm not an animal. It's been 3 years of me having to F strangers, and I'm tired. Sex is sacred to me, and I can't be used like this anymore. Comey circled back then to June 18th, asking if Combs had shown vulnerability that night. Jane just said evil. One word, evil. She said she had a black eye forming, a bruise on her leg, and 3 welts on her head. How do you compare in strength to Sean? I don't. Comey returned to the issue of Jane's motive for testifying. She asked Jane whether she would return every gift and all the money she received if it meant she'd never had to sleep with other men. Yes. She confirmed she has no financial stake in the trial, expects no compensation for her testimony. She doesn't even have a pending lawsuit against him like so many other women do, and men. When asked why she was testifying, Jane said, because I was subpoenaed and I'm here. Because I have to. Because they're making me. And with that, redirect ended. Garagos then came for recross. She asked how much Jane earns from OnlyFans. Jane said she makes $10,000 a month and up to $50,000 on her best month. Jane also receives nearly $5,000 a month in child support from a wealthy ex. Garagos pointed out that she could afford her own rent. Jane said she was catching up on 3 years of debt. Garagos confirmed Combs had given her over $150,000 in financial support over the years plus rent. Jane said, is that all I'm worth in 3 years? Then added yes. Did you want more than that? Jane replied, don't you think I'm worth more than that? I'm asking if you want more. No. Garagos brought up Jane's earlier comment that she'd give everything back, but you weren't willing to give up your home, right? That's where me and my child live. That's a very hard question to answer. You wanted to stay in the home you and your child lived in. I was in the position. That's a very hard question. She then went back to June 18th. Jane confirmed she knew Antoine was coming, that he only had her number, and that she drove to the gate to let him in, but never used the opportunity to leave. She told Antoine not to come inside. She never told Antoine to not come inside or that she didn't want to engage. She also confirmed that she knew Combs was under federal investigation at the time and that she had a criminal attorney. Garagos then asked about a birthday gift Jane gave to Combs after the October 2023 sobriety party, a portable TV. Jane said it was so he could watch adult content or past hotel recordings instead of asking for new encounters. I gave him the TV so I could protect myself from not sleeping with other men. She noted that the footage was of her sleeping with other men, that I brought the TV so that it could be an option instead of me to sleep with other men. She repeated herself. She said there were nights she didn't sleep with anybody at all. All of it was shit, she said. Jane Subramanian reminded her to answer only the questions asked. From there, she completed. She's off the stand. On her way out, she hugged both lawyers, prosecutors Maureen Comey and defense attorney Terry Garagos. So she hugged the prosecution and the defense. Just before she stepped down, Garagos asked one final question. She reminded Jane that Combs would always say, you can break up with me if you want. Jane replied, just because he said that's not what he meant. She also admitted that she didn't want to break up with him. And just like that, 6 days of testimony came to a close on her. Now, here's what I want to talk about real quick. Again, as always, just as a reiteration, if you came in late, you can watch this on YouTube, on Diddy Combs playlist. I feel like one thing that we're breezing over is the fact that prosecution obviously wanted her there for their purposes. They wanted her to come in and testify against Sean Combs, even though she didn't want to be there. Okay, she made it abundantly clear that she did not want to be there. She was not happy that she was subpoenaed by the prosecution, yet she still hugged Maureen Comey, right? Prosecution. From there, defense went hard on her, trying to make her out to be a liar, trying to make her out to be somebody who was nothing more than a gold digger that she could have left at any time. Yet she still hugged Jenny Garagos. I think that when you look at that action, as small as it might be, I think that really kind of gives you some insight into the psyche of who Jane is, right? people can make her do things that she doesn't want to do. They, like prosecution. They can berate her, like defense. Yet she still gives them a hug. You guys see what I'm saying with this? I think that really kind of shows who she is and how much she needs that validation. She needs to feel, wanted or like she's doing what she's supposed to do. So, anyways, hopefully you guys get what I mean by that. Now, as always, hit the follow button. If you came in here and liked any of this, please hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on. If you're on YouTube, follow. Subscribe is the same thing as a follow. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just subscribe, and you can turn on notifications. So when I go live, and like I said, these are all on YouTube under the Sean Diddy Combs playlist for anybody who wants to watch them. But all of that said, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. It will be the final day of this of testimony for the week. Tomorrow, there's going to be a couple more witnesses called, and prosecution is hoping to rest their case by Wednesday, possibly Friday of next week. So we got a lot to happen in the next few days. That being said, guys, have a great rest of the evening, and we will see you tomorrow.